President Biden is balancing the war in Ukraine with governing at home, including the push to get his first Supreme Court pick confirmed. The clash over those confirmation hearings begins this Monday when Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson faces senators for the first time. And we have a special guest right here to preview those hearings for you. Before we begin that conversation, we also have something special for you to end this long week. I want to share with you some of my new reporting from inside the White House, where I just caught up with the team guiding Jackson towards Monday's hearings as Biden and his aides tout this historic nomination. Here is our Beat SCOTUS special report airing for the first time now.
I am truly humbled by the extraordinary honor of this nomination.
That's Ketanji Brown Jackson at her Supreme Court nomination announcement. As the U.S. eyes a war in Ukraine and challenges at home, getting Jackson confirmed is the top priority domestically at the White House, where we just got an inside look at the SCOTUS battle with the aides working on it, including Jen Psaki, who recounted getting the news in these tense times.
I learned Thursday evening, right after he made the call. Last week was such a intense week here because of the crisis in Ukraine that I really feel I didn't focus a lot on it until I was sitting in my office watching the president and Judge Jackson give remarks, and I got a little choked up because it was a moment where I felt just really proud to be here and proud to be a part of this.
Other White House staff reflected on the breakthrough, like Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
We're talking about a Supreme Court that's been around for 230 years and has never had a woman, a black woman on the court. And there's a video out there, and people should watch it, of the president congratulating and calling Judge Jackson.
I'd like you to go to the Supreme Court. How about that?
Sir, I would be so honored.
I think it's important. You're incredibly well qualified, and I think the court should look like the country. And I mean it.
It meant the whole world to me. As a black woman, as a mother to a young 7-year-old black girl, for her to see that I got to go home and I got to tell her.
Judge Jackson brings more than one type of diversity to the bench. No one on the current court has experience as a public defender, representing the accused and the convicted, a background she uses as a judge, as she explained in her last confirmation hearing.
Most of my clients didn't really understand what had happened to them. When I became a trial judge, I take extra care to communicate with the defendants who come before me in the courtroom.
And Jackson rebutted a conservative criticism of defense lawyers, arguing they have the same duty as former prosecutors, who put past work aside to be neutral judges.
I would think that there would be no difference between defender experience and prosecutorial experience from the standpoint of whether or not someone can do what the law requires. And many, many prosecutors have been appointed as judges.
Legal liberals cheer that defense experience, but Biden's aides are quick to pivot to her police credentials. If confirmed, the court will have its first public defender since Thurgood Marshall. Can you give us any insight into that and what Joe Biden was thinking?
You know, I think that there is a misconception of her in some ways that she is, because she is was a public defender, which is an incredibly interesting and compelling part of her background, that she leans one partisan way over another.
Psaki says Biden was drawn to Jackson as a jurist who bridges the divide from reform to law enforcement.
He's somebody in his own life who believes that, there needs to be reforms of the system, but also that we need to support the role that police officers are playing across the country. She was somebody who had just such an impeccable background and such an appeal across the board, a public defender who is endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, that he felt that would make her an excellent member of the court.
Psaki said that before the State of the Union, when Biden used his high-profile speech to introduce his nominee.
A former federal public defender from a family of public school educators and police officers. She's a consensus builder.
And that link to Thurgood Marshall is notable. He was the first black person on the court and the last defense lawyer given his work for the NAACP. At his confirmation hearings in 1967, he vowed to represent the U.S. as a judge and discard any past feelings.
I'm an advocate and I represent the United States government, and I'll do it in the best I can. Personal emotions one way or the other. Once you become an advocate, that's it.
Over 85% of that Senate voted to confirm Marshall, including most Republicans, a bygone era. Just 53% of the current Senate voted to confirm Jackson to her current judgeship. Now she's begun meetings with top senators as the White House tapped moderate former Senator Doug Jones to lead her through the process. She starts with what? A ceiling of 53 votes?
We're not taking a single vote for granted. You know, in a different time, in a different place, that would get overwhelming support. This lady would. I'm absolutely convinced of that. I've seen it happen before.
Jones says her credentials should hold together all 50 Democrats and maybe even pick off a few Republicans.
While this is historic, I also want people to really look at her qualifications because they're truly remarkable. She finished magna cum laude at Harvard, cum laude at Harvard Law School. She has clerked for both Republican and Democratic judges, clerked for Justice Breyer. This is the ideal of America, that anybody can work hard and become a member of the United States Supreme Court. She embodies that. She embodies the American spirit.